What's up, everyone? Piscean here, bringing you part 3 to this Perplexity Advanced Astro textbook. I left off on chapter 18, and we're going to jump right into it. Midpoint activation by transit and progression. Please like, subscribe, comment, share if you dare and care. With peace and love, check out my other videos. Natal midpoint pictures describe latent potentials. Okay, and this channel is used to help you understand astrology for free. With peace and love, integrating the help of AI agents. Configurations that exist in the chart structure but may not be active at all times. Natal midpoint pictures describe latent potentials. Alright, configurations that exist in the chart structure but may not be active at all times. Midpoint activation occurs when a transiting or progressed planet or a directed point reaches a degree of a natal midpoint, bringing its combined energy into manifestation. Transit activation. Alright, so when a transiting planet crosses a natal midpoint within the effective orb, typically 1 degree, the midpoint picture is temporarily activated. The nature of the transit determines how the midpoint's energy manifests. Transit of Saturn tests, structures, or limits the midpoint's expression, period of consolidation or restriction. Transit of Jupiter expands, opens, and grows the midpoint's expression, period of opportunity. Transit of Uranus disrupts, awakens, or revolutionizes the midpoint's expression, sudden changes. Transit of Neptune dissolves, inspires, or mystifies the midpoint's expression, period of confusion or vision. Transit of Pluto transforms, intensifies, or eliminates and renews the midpoint's expression. Transit of the Sun, annual highlighting of the midpoint, brief but clarifying. Transit of Mars energizes, triggers, or provokes the midpoint, action-oriented activation. Okay. Progressed activation. So secondary progressed planets move slowly, approximately 1 degree per year for the progressed Sun. When a progressed planet crosses a natal midpoint, the activation is longer lasting, typically spanning several years due to the slow motion, and represents a developmental phase in which the midpoint's themes come to the foreground of the native's life. Progressed midpoint activations often correspond to significant life transitions, psychological developments, or shifts in life direction. Solar arc activation. Solar arc direction moves all points in the chart at the rate of the progressed Sun. It's approximately 1 degree per year. When a solar arc planet reaches a natal midpoint, the activation is precise and often marks significant events. Solar arc activations are particularly favored in cosmobiology for their precision and reliability in timing. Midpoint to midpoint transits. Transit to midpoint varieties. This text proposes 3 modes of transit to midpoint activation. The first mode is direct. A transiting planet crosses the natal midpoint degree, standard activation, while the second mode is reflex. A transiting planet crosses the indirect opposite midpoint degree. Secondary activation often manifesting through external events rather than internal experience. In mode 3 harmonic, a transiting planet forms a hard aspect, whether it's a square or in opposition to the natal midpoint, activating it through tension rather than conjunction. This text proposes that harmonic activation, mode 3, is approximately 60% as strong as direct activation, as we see in mode 1. Timing with midpoint activations. For predictive work, midpoint activations provide precise timing windows when multiple activations converge. For example, a transit and a solar arc simultaneously activating the same midpoint. The probability of significant manifestation increases dramatically. The principle of convergent activation states when 2 or more timing techniques simultaneously activate the same natal midpoint, the probability of a significant event corresponding to that midpoint's themes is very high. Alright, let's get into more detail on fixed stars. Fixed star basics and classification. Fixed stars are so called because, unlike the planets, quote-unquote wandering stars, they appear to maintain fixed positions relative to each other. Okay? In reality, they do move, but at rates so slow as to be imperceptible over human lifetimes, approximately 50 arc seconds per year for the fastest. In astrological practice, fixed stars are primarily interpreted through their conjunctions with natal planets and angles and through their helical rising and setting positions. Ptolemy in the Almagest and Tetrabiblos cataloged over 1,000 fixed stars. He classified 15 stars as first magnitude and 15 as second magnitude. The first magnitude stars he identified include Capella, the bright star of Lyra Vega, Arcturus, the star on the heart of Leo Regulus, the star on the tail of Leo de Nebula, the bright star of the Hyades Aldebaran, Procyon, the star on the shoulder of Orion, Betelgeuse, Spica, Sirius, the bright star of the southern fish, Fomalhaut, Canopus, and others. Magnitude and influence. So the magnitude of a fixed star, its apparent brightness, is the primary factor in determining its astrological influence. First magnitude stars are the most powerful and are given the widest orbs up to 1 degree through 2 degrees, while second and third magnitude stars are less influential and receive tighter orbs of 0.5 degrees through 1 degree. Stars of fourth magnitude and below are generally considered too faint for significant natal influence unless exactly conjunct an angle. All right, the 4 royal stars. Ancient Persians identify 4 royal stars, or watchers of the directions, each associated with a cardinal direction in a season. So for example, Aldebaran directions east, season spring equinox, 9 degrees Gemini zodiac position. It's a watcher of the east, integrity and honor. Alright, next we see Regulus directions north, summer solstice, 0 degrees Virgo, watcher of the north, power and kingship. At Aries west, autumn equinox, 9 degrees Sagittarius, watcher of the west, courage and risk. And Fomalhaut south, winter solstice, 3 degrees Pisces, watcher of the south, vision and idealism. A note here is the zodiac positions given are approximate for the current epoch, as precession has shifted the stars from their original positions at the time the royal star system was established. Alright, benefic and malefic stars. Traditional astrology classifies fixed stars as benefic as well as malefic, or mixed in nature. So benefic stars, such as Spica, Vega, and Jupiter-associated stars, bring favor, success, and creative power, while malefic stars such as Algol, Caput Algol, and some Mars-Saturn-associated stars bring challenge, danger, or difficulty. Most stars are mixed, containing both positive and negative potential depending on the planet or angle they conjunct and the overall chart context. Alright? Fixed star conjunctions to planets and angles. Alrighty. So the primary method of interpreting fixed stars in natal astrology is through their conjunctions with planets, angles, and other sensitive points. Ptolemy described how stars form significant configurations with planets when positioned on the same circle through the poles of the ecliptic, i.e. having the same ecliptic longitude, or when separated by multiples of 60 degrees, 90 degrees, or 120 degrees. Okay? So conjunctions to the ascendant. A fixed star conjunct the ascendant within 1 degree through 2 degrees is one of the most powerful stellar influences in the chart. It colors the native's physical appearance, personality, and the way they are perceived by others. The star's mythology becomes a theme that runs throughout the native's life. Stars on the ascendant are considered to be at their strongest position. Okay? For example, Regulus conjunct the ascendant. The star of kingship and royal power on the ascendant suggests a person of natural authority, leadership, ability, and a drive for recognition. The challenge is to maintain integrity, as Regulus's traditional warning is that success achieved through dishonorable means will lead to a fall from grace. Conjunctions to the midheaven. A fixed star conjunct the midheaven will influence the native's public standing, career, and vocation. Stars on the midheaven often indicate the nature of public recognition and the field through which the native achieves prominence. A culminating star on the midheaven is said to offer success early in life, particularly in the city of birth. Conjunctions to the descendant and IC. Stars on the descendant influence partnerships, the native's relationship to the quote-unquote other. According to the tradition preserved by the author known as Anonymous 379, a fixed star conjunct the descendant takes effect in middle age and in a foreign country. While stars on the IC, the nadir or rooting position, influence the native's foundations, roots, and inner base. Their energy manifests in old age or even posthumously. Conjunctions to planets. When a fixed star conjuncts a natal planet, the planet's energy is infused with the star's mythological and symbolic character. The combination creates a fusion of archetypal energies that is more specific than either alone. The planet determines the function through which the star's theme manifests. So for example, Sirius conjunct the Sun, brilliance, fame through achievement, potential for burnout. Sirius conjunct the Moon, emotional intensity, public recognition, instinctual ambition. Algol conjunct Mars, intense drive, potential for destructive aggression, need for channeling. And Algol conjunct Venus, passionate love, potential for loss, intensity in relationships. Spica conjunct Mercury is intellectual brilliance, talent for writing or communication. Regulus conjunct Jupiter is leadership through wisdom, expansive authority, and honor. Antares conjunct Mars, bringing courage, strategic ability, risk-taking, and potential for conflict. And Fomalhaut conjunct Neptune, visionary idealism, creative imagination, and potential for illusion. Ptolemy's 9 modes of star-sun interaction. Ptolemy described 9 modes of interaction between fixed stars and the Sun, distinguishing them by the phase of the star's visibility relative to the Sun. Matutine subsolar, star and Sun together on the eastern horizon. Oriental invisible succident rising, star rises immediately after the Sun at the commencement of occultation. Precise oriental co-rising, star in partile conjunction with the Sun on the eastern horizon. Oriental precedent visible rising, star rises before the Sun as it begins to appear. Occidental setting, star sets with the Sun. Evening rising, star rising after sunset. Star rises after sunset, And evening setting, star sets after sunset. Achronical rising, star rises at sunset, opposition to Sun. Cosmical setting, star sets at sunrise. Alright. On to chapter 21 now. Fixed stars in midpoint pictures and decanets. So fixed stars in midpoint and decanate contexts. This chapter presents original extensions of fixed star interpretation to the midpoint and decanate framework. These methods are proposed here for the first time and should be used experimentally. So fixed stars in midpoint pictures. When a fixed star falls on a natal midpoint within 0.5 degrees, the star's mythological theme becomes the medium through which the midpoint's combined planetary energy is expressed. And the formula is planet A/planet B equals a fixed star, interpreted as the combined principle of A and B is channeled through the star's archetypal theme. So for example, Sun-Saturn equals Regulus. The native's core identity and sense of structure and responsibility, Sun-Saturn, is channeled through Regulus's theme of kingship and honor. This could indicate a person who achieves authority and recognition through disciplined leadership, but who must guard against the pride and potential fall associated with Regulus. Fixed stars and decanate rulers. So when a fixed star falls in a particular decanate, the decanate sub-ruler modifies the star's expression. So for example, a star at, let's say, 15 degrees Leo, second decan, Jupiter Sagittarius decan, would have its expression colored by the Jupiter's expansive philosophical qualities. And the star's core mythology remains, but the decanate ruler provides a secondary influence that shapes how the star's energy is expressed. This is particularly relevant for stars that fall at the boundaries between decanates, when the transition between sub-rulers creates a nuanced blend of influences. A star at 9 degrees Leo, end of the first decan, Mars Aries, carries a more direct martial quality than the same star at 11 degrees Leo, beginning of the second decan, Jupiter Sagittarius, which would be more expansive and philosophical. The star decanate aspect integration. So combining the frameworks from parts 4, 5, and 6, the most advanced level of chart analysis considers first the decanate of each natal planet, then the decanate of the midpoint between any two planets, any fixed star conjunct that midpoint, and the decanate of the fixed star itself. This 4-layered analysis creates a highly specific and nuanced interpretation that integrates all the frameworks presented in this textbook. The Stellar Decanate Index, or SDI. It's for evaluating the strength of a fixed star's influence based on its decanate position relative to the conjunct planet. So for example, here we have SDI equals 3 maximum. Star and planet in the same decanate, same 10-degree sector of a sign. The star's influence is pure and direct. SDI equals 2 strong. Star and planet in adjacent decanates of the same sign. Star's influence is strong, but modified by the adjacent decanate sub-ruler. SDI equals 1 moderate. Star and planet in the same sign, but non-adjacent decanates. The star's influence is present but diluted. SDI equals 0 weak. Star and planet in different signs. Only the conjunction orb matters. The decanate factor is null. One moment. Got a phone call coming in. gonna text this person. Alright. So now I want to get into a fixed star midpoint variety summary. Look at the variety formula in nature as well as orb. So we see planet equals star, AB divided by 2 equals star. Star's expression of combined planetary energy with a 0.5 degrees orb. And most orbs are, 0.5 as we see for planet star equals planet, star star equals planet, and angle star equals planet, as well as star star equals angle, and a 0.25 degrees orb for planet star equals star. So planet star equals planet is A plus star divided by 2 equals B. Combined planet star expressed through another planet. Star star equals planet is S1 plus S2 divided by 2 equals A. Combined stellar mythology expressed through a planet. Angle star equals planet is ascendant adding the star divided by 2 equals A. Stellar energy in itself expressed through a planet. Star star equals angle. S1 plus S2 divided by 2 equals the ascendant midheaven. Combined stellar mythology as identity or vocation. And then for planet star equals star, A plus star 1 divided by 2 equals star 2. Planet star combined expressed through a second star. Integrated delineation method. The weighting system. So an integrated chart delineation requires a systematic method for prioritizing the vast amount of information contained in a natal chart. This chapter presents a weighting system that assigns relative importance to different factors, allowing the astrologer to identify the most significant themes and avoid drowning in detail. So weighting factors, here we see factor, weight, and rationale. So for example, angular planet first 10th house, the weight of 3 times. Angular planets are the most prominent in the chart. Okay. Angular planet 4th 7th house, 2.5x. All angular planets are elevated, ascendant, midheaven, highest. Sun or moon in any house, 2.5x. The luminaries are always significant. Planets conjunct angles within 5 degrees, 2x. Angular conjunction amplifies. Planets conjunct fixed stars, 1.5x. Star conjunctions add mythic significance. Planets in their domicile, 1.5x. Rulership strengthens expression. Planets in their exaltation, 1.3x. Exaltation elevates expression. Planets in their detriment fall, 0.7x. Weak placement reduces clarity. Tight aspects within 1 degrees, 2x. Exactitude amplifies aspect power. Wide aspects within 5 degrees or more, 1x. Wider orbs reduce intensity. Midpoint pictures activated, 1.5x. Midpoint activation adds meaning. Succedent planet, 1x baseline weight. And Arcadian planet, 0.7x. Arcadian planets are less prominent. Okay. So chart theme identification. After weighing all factors, identify the top 3 to 5 themes by combined weight. These represent the dominant motifs of the chart and should form the backbone of the delineation. A theme may consist of a heavily weighted planet, angular, conjunctive star, and domicile with multiple tight aspects. A prominent midpoint picture, or cluster of aspects involving the same planetary principle. Alright, let's go over the hierarchy of significance. Following hierarchy from most to least significant guides the delineation process. So the ascendant and its ruler, the most personal point and its dispositor. The sun and moon, the core identity and emotional nature. The midheaven and its ruler, vocation and public standing. Angular planets, the most active energies. Tight major aspects within 1 degree, the strongest dynamic relationships. Planets conjunct fixed stars, mythic archetypal themes. Activated midpoint pictures, combined energy expressions. Decanate placements of key planets, refining influence. Minor aspects and harmonic patterns, subtle influences. As well as house placements of non-angular planets. Life arena context. Alrighty. Chapter 23 is a step-by-step chart reading protocol here. This chapter provides a systematic step-by-step protocol for integrated chart delineation using all the frameworks presented in this textbook. If you haven't seen the other two parts, check them out. Follow these steps in order for a complete analysis. And there's 8 steps here, so we'll go over them in detail. Foundation and structure is your first step. Begin with the chart skeleton, okay? So that means note the ascendant sign indicative, the MC sign indicative, the sun sign indicative, and the moon sign indicative. These 4 points and their decanate placements form the foundational architecture. Identify the chart ruler of the ascendant, and note a sign, house, and decanate placement. Determine whether the chart is diurnal, sun above the horizon, or whether it's nocturnal, sun below the horizon, as this affects sect considerations throughout the analysis. Planetary dignity assessment. For each planet, assess its dignity. Is it in its domicile, exaltation, detriment, or fall? Note its decanate placement and subruler. Record the house placement and angularity. Assign preliminary weights based on the system in previous chapter. Alright. Major aspect analysis. Identify all major aspects: conjunction, opposition, trine, square, sextile, using the orb guidelines from previous chapter. For each aspect, note the exact orb, whether it's applying or separating, the decanate of each endpoint planet, the midpoint degree and assigned decanate, and the decanate resonance index DRI. Prioritize aspects with the tightest orbs and highest DRI scores. Midpoint analysis. Calculate all direct midpoints between pairs of planets. Identify any natal planet, angle, or fixed star that falls within 1 degree of a midpoint, creating a midpoint picture. Note all angle involving midpoints separately as they carry the angular midpoint amplification factor. Check for indirect reflex midpoint activations. Record all midpoint pictures with their interpretive themes. Fixed star analysis. Check all natal planets and angles for conjunctions with major fixed stars within the appropriate orb. Almost said approximate. 1 degrees through 2 degrees for first magnitude. 0.5 degrees through 1 degrees for second magnitude. For each conjunction, note the star's mythology and nature, benefic, malefic, mixed, as well as the conjunct planet or angle, the star's decanate placement, the stellar decanate index, SDI. Check for fixed stars on midpoints. Minor aspect and harmonic analysis. Identify all minor aspects using their appropriate orbs. Look for harmonic stacking, multiple aspects of the same harmonic family. Identify any new aspect types, previous chapter, that fall within their very tight proposed orbs. Note patterns and clusters. Alright, synthesis and theme identification. Using the weighting system from previous chapter, identify the top 3 through 5 chart themes, weave together these findings from all previous steps into a coherent narrative, and then cross-reference. Does a theme appear in multiple frameworks? For example, a planet is angular, conjunct a fixed star, and at the center of a tight midpoint picture. Such convergent themes are the most significant. And finally, step 8, predictive sensitivity mapping. Identify the most sensitive points for predictive work, natal midpoints that are unactivated, no natal planet on them, but could be activated by transit, the angles for transit timing, and any planet conjunct a fixed star, 4-star paran, or helical rising timing. Create a timeline of upcoming midpoint activations by major transits and progressions. Alright, synthesis examples. Following illustrative examples demonstrate the integrated delineation method using hypothetical chart configurations. These are constructed examples, not real natal charts. So we're just going to go over these 2 examples here. First is the communicator. So hypothetical chart data here, we see the individual has ascendant at 12 degrees Gemini in the second decan Venus Libra, the sun at 3 degrees Virgo in the first decan Mercury, moon at 18 degrees Aquarius in second decan Mercury Gemini, midheaven at 25 degrees Aquarius, third decan Venus Libra, Mercury at 8 degrees Virgo, first decan Mercury, and it's conjunct the sun within 5 degrees. Individual has Jupiter at 6 degrees Virgo, and that is conjunct sun and Mercury. Also has Venus at 14 degrees Leo, which is conjunct Regulus at 0 degrees Virgo within orb. And then we have our analysis here. Chart ruler is Mercury, ruler of Gemini ascendant, placed in its domicile and exaltation in Virgo, and it's also conjunct the sun. Okay, so this is an extremely powerful Mercury, the core of the chart. Because why? Sun, Mercury, Jupiter conjunction in Virgo, first decan, pure Mercury creates a concentration of intellectual, communicative, and analytical energy. Okay? The midpoint of Sun Jupiter falls at approximately 4.5 degrees Virgo, very close to Mercury at 8 degrees Virgo, which is within 3.5 degrees wide, but notable for its thematic coherence. Venus conjunct Regulus adds a theme of creative leadership and artistic recognition. In our synthesis, this chart describes a person whose identity and purpose are fundamentally communicative and analytical. With Mercury dominance, chart ruler, and domicile and exaltation conjunct the Sun suggests someone who thinks, writes, and communicates as their primary mode of self-expression. The Venus Regulus conjunction adds a dimension of creative authority and potential public recognition through aesthetic or artistic work. In the Aquarius midheaven, third decan Venus Libra suggests a career that synthesizes intellectual innovation with aesthetic sensibility. Example 2 is a transformer. Alright, this individual, hypothetically, we'll say has ascendant at 22 degrees Scorpio, the third decan, moon Cancer, Sun at 15 degrees Scorpio, the second decan, Jupiter Pisces, moon at 5 degrees Pisces, and first decan, Jupiter, Pluto at 28 degrees Scorpio, third decan, moon Cancer, and it's conjunct the ascendant within 6 degrees, Mars at 16 degrees Scorpio, second decan, and that's conjunct the Sun, Saturn at 3 degrees Pisces in its first decan, and that's conjunct the moon. And Aries at 9 degrees Sagittarius is loosely conjunct the ascendant within 2 degrees of the ascendant degree projected to Sagittarius. So the chart ruler is Mars, traditional ruler of Scorpio, and its place in its domicile, and it's also conjunct the Sun in the second decan, Jupiter Pisces. So the Sun-Mars midpoint falls at approximately 15.5 degrees Scorpio, essentially at the Sun-Mars conjunction itself, a powerful concentration of identity and drive. We see Pluto on the ascendant in the third decan, moon Cancer adds transformative intensity to the personality. With Saturn's conjunct the moon in Pisces creates emotional depth and structure through difficulty. The Sun-Mars conjunction's midpoint decanate is the second decan of Scorpio, Jupiter Pisces, giving the aspect a spiritually expansive quality through the DRI framework. Okay. And then we synthesize and see that this chart describes a person of intense transformative power. Scorpio stellium, Sun, Mars, Pluto, ascendant, all in Scorpio creates a dominant theme of depth, intensity, and regeneration. The Jupiter-influenced second decan placements of Sun and Mars suggest that this transformative drive is directed towards spiritual or philosophical expansion rather than purely personal power. The Antares influence loosely conjunct the ascendant adds a theme of courage and strategic ability, but also warns of the risks of excessive ambition. Saturn conjunct the moon indicates that the emotional foundation has been tested and structured through difficulty, giving the native emotional resilience and depth. Next, we're going to finish up the video with our appendices that were crafted here. So I really like to have the visuals to show tables and worksheets, and we get a lot of help with the AI agents producing this content, so it's awesome. So Appendix A shows a complete aspect reference table and all aspects covered in this textbook with their degrees, harmonics, orbs, and natures. So for example, most of these are classical, a lot of them are minor, and then there's original aspects, such as the decile, undecile, tridecile, quatortecile, and vigentile. Okay. It shows the harmonics, orbs, nature, source. Also, there's a midpoint formula glossary. All midpoint formulas and varieties covered in this textbook. Essentially going over whether it's a direct midpoint, indirect reflex, angle, midpoint, angle, axis midpoint, nodal midpoint, stellar midpoint, stellar angle, meta midpoint, A plus B / 2 decanate, variable orb, resonance index, and stellar index. Decanate quick reference tables with the decanate rulers by sign, and also decanate elemental subrulers. as well as a fixed star reference list, major fixed stars with approximate positions, epoch 2000, magnitudes, and key themes. And then there's a note on precession in regards to these fixed stars. So fixed star positions shift approximately 1 degree per 72 years due to the precession of the equinoxes. The positions listed above are for the year 2000 CE. For current dates, add approximately 0.3 degrees to the longitude. Always verify star positions with a current ephemeris or software program for precise work. Appendix E is a chart delineation worksheet. You can use this worksheet to systematically analyze any natal chart using the integrated method from part 7. Excuse me, part 7, sorry. Alrighty. So there we have it. I hope you guys are enjoying these astrology videos and learning something from watching me with peace and love. I will see you in the next one. Piscean out.